So let's watch this one, because the other one we did watch. So, why can't I not move down? There we go. What's your thoughts on this? My reasoning here that doesn't come in the message is with adding sources of gear with higher tiers than the content you're actually even doing. Yes, not a factor in how we end up with really messy tuning or just unclear intent from Blizzard. When playing 14 or Guild Wars 2, you know exactly how hard an encounter is supposed to be, and it's not super obscured by gear discrepancies. Yes. Gearing in raids is a mess. Again, like I said in my Mythic Plus video, the 40-minute long version, you should not be getting Mythic raid item level equivalent for Mythic Pluses. At most heroic. It just screws up the whole Mythic rating thing. People who do Mythic rating will have to do Mythic Pluses, etc, etc. It's a massive topic. I don't want to go back into it. Just watch my other vid. If I knew how to link vids in the videos, I would link it somewhere like here, but I don't know. So just find my video, okay? Look for Framinthor Mythic Plus, solving Mythic Plus. Okay. Anyways, let's go. Gearing in raids is a mess.
69. Shouldn't raids be balanced to be outpaced by its own gear well enough? Those who need to start having ways to get higher tier gear started with Garrison. So if you're not aware there, if, you know, when you got enough sort of progress in your character, the Garrison would just be this like weekly drip feed of epics.
Yes.
You know? Oh shit.
Proto Vault.
There you go, Proto Vault. Just that I guess you kind of had to push a character to a certain amount of progress within that raid, and then I think the vault, like the Garrison missions, just drop that gear like continue.
I've been seeing these sponges on a lot of like people who do videos recently. What are they for? Is it just to to look cool, or is it like sound blocking? What is that?
Genuinely for that character, which was a bit weird having these characters decked out on like I think normal mode perps. But they hadn't even stepped in the dungeon. It was like kind of odd. Yeah, so raids being balanced to be outpaced by their own gear. I think it's just they like that typically does happen, but with Sepulchre they just really ran into like quite a few more specific issues and just off-target tuning.
Right.
So yes, I think that should be the case. There's complicated reasons why it wasn't the case for Mythic. I'm not really sure what it was like for Heroic and Normal. I certainly know that like whenever we were progressing on Normal, which I know is a fucking laughable statement by the way, the context there is our guild quit.
Yep.
Before, I think we'd progressed like just over halfway through Sanctum of Domination and we quit. So whenever we started the new patch, we had mostly normal mode Sanctum gear, and we then went into normal mode Sepulchre.
Wouldn't the patch entrance quest give you higher item level than normal raid tier from the previous patch, or is it the same item level? I don't remember. I feel like, because I think you get like 250 item level just from entering Zereth Moor, so you get like 250 item level gear, and normal Chains of Domination, I believe, was like 230-ish or something like that. So should have had higher item level overall.
But like for us, like going in, getting the better gear, seeing our numbers go up, killing more bosses, that felt really great.
Oh yeah,
it
it does.
Feel great to us was the nerfs, which kind of like robbed us of our Anduin progress because we just face rolled him after a nerf, and that was like kind of sad. I know, even though it's normal, but like overcoming a challenge is overcoming a challenge still. Yeah, I guess like raids being outpaced by their own gear, that should happen. I think there's... I mean, it generally does happen. I think it's just maybe some...
I really hate that it happens. I believe that you should be comfortably doing the content you're doing with the gear that allowed you to get that content. So for example, normal gear should be what you need to do heroic gear. Heroic gear is what you need to do mythic gear. Normal gear is what you need to have in order to do heroic raid, which works because that's how you kill the first 3 bosses. You used to, right? You would kill the first few bosses using normal gear that is weaker than the heroic gear, and the heroic gear can help you with the to make the heroic run easier, but the heroic gear is meant for you to do the mythic raid. And the mythic raid, what's the point of the gearing if you're already supposed to have the gearing that you need in order to do the mythic raid? That's why I think Mythic should be more of a, well, I need to, I'm supposed to do a whole video about like what I think rating in WoW should be for at least like Mythic level. But basically Mythic rating, in my opinion, should be a boss rush type, wings. You just queue into the first wing, boss rush, no trash, no whatever. You kill the boss, get the loot, teleport to the next boss room, etc., etc. You are not doing the raid, you're just doing the bosses, and the bosses are I'll just drop you cosmetics of like the set gear that you have in heroic, just the cosmetic equivalent mythic version of it, and mounts and stuff like that. So it's like the only thing you're getting from mythic rating is the cosmetics, right? Because there's no reason to have more gear during mythic prog. It's like heroic gear should be enough for mythic, you know? Mythic just requires more skill.
Things that have been somewhat magnified in the mythic scene, where like, you know, in mythic you're really brushing up against some pretty hardcore shit.
Yeah.
Like when a fully geared, you know, when it's still a challenge for fully geared best players in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like ideally you would want that to be a challenge for partially geared best players in the world, and then a few months later fully geared mythic raiders can make their incremental progress.
Yeah. I think so much of it is just down to M plus and raid are blended.
Yep. I agree.
M plus is more efficient.
Bro, exactly what I said. M plus is just too efficient and it's much less time consuming. It's just a lot easier to get the item levels from Mythic Plus. Why even bother with the raids? Less people raid, less people know how to deal with raids as well. So it's like it's a massive fucking domino effect. Mythic Plus is literally ruining raiding for the game.
And it's easy.
As well as them making raids just extremely inaccessible, extremely annoying, extremely punishing, and way too hard for no reason other than to make it hard.
Because the organizational element's easier. And it's easier because it's literally easier difficulty-wise. And that just makes this like really hard thing to balance. It's really kind of... M plus is constantly kind of eating ratings lunch in a weird sense. Which kind of makes rating feel a little bit pointless in terms of the gearing structure, which the whole game is about.
Yeah. I think Scott Archibald wants to sort of...
Here's the other thing. So it's like, you know how like to get the, right now how it is, to get the vault item from Mythic plus 15 to get like the highest item level, which is equivalent to Mythic gear item level, you just need to do 10 Mythic plus 15s and you get that. 10 Mythic plus 15s, on average, you're doing usually the 15s. First of all, it's faster queue. If you have the IO, you're getting groups a lot faster. And usually you would do them to the most beneficial would be do it with your guilds, right? Those runs, on average, 30 minutes each, 10 runs, 5 hours. Raiding in Mythic takes, for the week, takes you 9 hours. And if it's prog week, you are more likely than not getting anything out of it. You would be fighting the same boss for the 3 days, right? And even if you kill the boss, the chance of you getting loot is like 20%, right? When you're doing Mythic plus 15s, maybe the item level you get from the Mythic plus 15s is lower. It's like heroic gear-ish, right? But it can still supplement slots you're missing. However, the vault guarantee one item of your choice from 3 options that is mythic item level. There's absolutely no reason for that. It's like, it literally, like, if you think about it, it's like, well, I can spend 9 hours progging a boss and not getting loot, or I can spend 5 hours and getting loot. 100% guaranteed getting loot. Like, bro, the obvious choice, you know, the obvious choice.
We've talked about this too. He supered us. Yeah, he supered us 10 bucks and said, what if they change raids to drop different loot in each tier bracket? Not just item level upgrades, but actual different gear with different stats, trinkets, tier sets. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but I think what you were speaking to is like a higher diversity of...
It's not... This is not going to happen. The higher diversity stuff are never going to happen because it's already too much work for Blizzard to even make a raid tier.
Of drops from within a raid. And I think there's something to be said for a version of the game that actually, this goes to what you were saying earlier about like the idea of having different builds for your character.
Yeah.
A version of the game that like just has more loot, has more things, just like a little 2-piece set of trinkets, and just giving you like literally more loot is coming out of the game as you're playing.
Yep.
But the loot is a bit more diverse, a bit more crazy, a bit more wacky. You can do more things with it. You know, maybe something like that. It's like, could it be slightly less competitive because it's harder to balance? Yeah. Could it also be maybe slightly more fun? Potentially, yeah. It's kind of, I don't know, it's interesting thinking through like raid loot and WoW.
I feel like WoW needs to stop taking itself so seriously. Like, the development of WoW is taking itself way too seriously. Like, they're forgetting it's a game. They treat it like it's like, you know, the FIFA League or something like that. It's like, it's a massive esport for them. Or it's like something that they have to take so seriously that's like, this is World of Warcraft is a world, or something like that. It's like, bro, it's a game at the end of the day. It, like, the vast majority of the player base are not participating in the leagues, are not participating in the MDI, are not participating in World First or whatever. First and foremost, World of Warcraft needs to become a game again, and not something that is basically taking itself so seriously, where it's like everything has to like work so perfectly, which by the way it never does, but their philosophy is, right? It's like they're making the raids way too hard. It's like, why? You know, it's like, well, we want to cater to the 1%, basically. It's like, bro, why? They are not your main source of income. By far, they're not.
Be satisfying, because I know there's times where we've just, you know, we've kind of looked at Mythic Plus and like looked at raid and thought, fuck it, just double the raid loot.
Yes, double, fuck, triple that shit. Are you kidding me? There's like 3 drops on Mythic on the Mythic raid boss. Should be like 10.
Yeah, that's. I mean, well, so much of that is just to keep parity with M+.
Yeah.
Because you do need to be more efficient.
Same, M+. Pretty much double the loot. There needs to be 5 drops no matter what happens within the run. Bad run, good run, 5 drops. Each participant should be getting something out of it, except for feeling like they wasted their fucking time.
But that's another thing where, like, some of that is like because of the player's skill acting as a multiplier on potential damage output. That's one I think that's really key, where you look at like, and this is kind of hard to understand because generally World of Warcraft is not very difficult from a DPS perspective.
No.
Nothing is exceedingly complicated.
No.
It's
as far as
pretty
DPS
easy
goes.
to kind of do, but there's a lot of nuance lost in like always be casting like hyper efficiency. So it's just like a massive schism of an item level X player.
I mean, if you have an issue of like always casting and like having to do mechanics and stuff, just play a hunter. I mean, let's be real.
With, you know, Y skill versus someone who's got item level X but 2 Y skill is going to do substantially more damage, which is kind of a whole big problem of like balancing it out across the whole spectrum of players, because you sometimes there'll be groups that are like, they'll be perfectly fine on gear and player damage, but and like damage and healing and stuff, but they'll have problems mechanically with fights. And then there's the opposite where players just going, well, we did the mechanics properly, just have to wait for fucking gear now. Just have to wait for gear, which means the best thing to do is go M+. But then that goes wrong whenever you go out damage mechanics. And then you go, well, it's more efficient for us to get better gear than to learn this fight more, than to practice this fight for. And then that gets even worse whenever you...
It's not even so much about more efficient. So if it's compared to like World First Raiders are more efficient because they have the a perfect balance of classes. A regular Mythic raid, it's not even like the gear is literally there. So like raid bosses usually have like an HP phase per HP, right? So it's like once they hit 80%, 75%, they switch phase. So technically, if you get enough gear, you can out DPS a mechanic. The other problem is a lot of times the boss is kind of designed for you to skip that mechanic, to out DPS the mechanic, because otherwise the rest of the fight is not going to happen cooldown wise. Right, it's like you have 10 minutes to kill a boss, but if you don't skip the mechanic at the beginning, you're gonna have to blow up some cooldowns that you would need, because once you finish that phase and you go into the next one, you need another cooldown, but you won't have it. Right, you're gonna have a staggering effect of like lack of cooldowns because you couldn't skip that first part. So it's like, it's as if the boss is designed specifically for you to skip a mechanic, right? Or the other alternative for that is, if you can skip the mechanic, you have to slow down the DPS so that your cooldowns will come back up for that next mechanic, which is when you switch to the next phase. Only problem with that is, this usually would make you either reach enrage timer or again have another staggering problem later on in the encounter. So usually the best solution is not even so much about like learning mechanics, it's literally like the best solution is to out DPS a mechanic. Right? It's like, it's a problem with the design of the bosses. It's not even like a player choice in that matter. It's just or they can just bring us like a specific set of characters, right? They have the perfect balance between characters, kind of like how the World First Raiders do, right? It's like, well, how many Red Paladins are in World First Raids? Never ever is there Red Paladin. Why? Because they don't bring anything that they need for the raid. You know, maybe there was like one time because their DPS was like hilariously good. But usually you don't bring certain classes because they don't bring the utility that you need for a fight. So you have to out DPS mechanics.
Okay, well, in World of Warcraft, it's more efficient to get gear than learn how to play. Which is where we have the problem now, where some players
I would
like,
say it's true what he's saying, but it's more like that's the dev design. It's not because players made that choice. It's because the devs made that choice. The devs made it so that's like, you either bring the perfect combination of classes or you're gonna have to, you know, just skip mechanics because that's how they design it.
don't really know their class that well, or like aren't very good at like the nuance of how to squeeze 50% more damage out from using your cooldowns effectively on cleave.
Yep.
Or, you know, using your cooldowns when they're rolling.
Yep.
Or using stuff at the same time. Or just not getting hit by stuff and, you know, always casting, stuff like that. So that's a bit kind of... It's interesting. Basically,
it's not even about not getting hit by stuff. It's knowing what stuff you can get hit by. It's like, I get hit by this, I'll lose like 60% of my HP, but I'm usually at 100% at this point, and also the healers don't have anything to worry about after I get hit by this, so I'll be topped off. Therefore, I can still keep DPSing. Like, in this case, it's fine to stand in the fire, you know?
I'm saying that they have a really difficult problem to solve when it comes to balancing everything overall. Because, like, how do you balance for a massive skills and player skill and the impact on damage out when it comes to raid loot?
Left-hand row passive, others not.
Yeah, and then whichever one's best is best.
And I guess, like,
Yep.
to that, like, Starshimmer Super saying it's an interesting thought. Tier sets, you know, they focus you down to a certain playstyle and build. What if they gave you a very small tree for your tier set so you could, like, choose? The idea that basically, you know, you'd get tier and, you know...
So your tier sets are artifact, like similar to how Legion artifact weapons worked. Cool idea. Too much to balance. WoW is not gonna do it. It's just too much development time for something you're gonna throw away in like 4 months.
You could imagine the little UI, you know, each little bit of tier you get like a new little thing. Do you know what?
Hello, that's right armor.
But basically what it is.
That would be really cool. The only problem though is like when they tried to do that with Azerite, they didn't really get to make the effects be as like tailored, and then they're only going to have so many ideas. So if they have to now throw 2 or 3 sets of ideas into the tier sets, every single tier, oh boy, that's a
Not
lot
happening.
That's
Not
a lot
happening.
of thought. But certainly the
Straight
idea
up not
of a little bit
happening.
of interactivity is there. I think it speaks to one of the previous supers about like, you know, sort of like loot and build diversity within a raid. But yeah, I guess it's just fascinating because there's a bit of you, maybe this is the same for you, there's like almost a bit of you that just wants to say, fuck it, let's go mad. Let's just put mad shit everywhere.
Oh, you mean like corruptions at end of BFA? Yeah, I think overall was fun. Overall, everyone liked it. They hated the acquisition, but it was overall fun.
Who cares if eventually it's OP? You know, like Echoing Void and Twilight Devastation and all that, and
Corruption.
you know, it's just absolute fucking John Madden meme town. Once people are fully decked out, like the end of Legion. And there's a bit where it's like, that's less competitive. That's bad for the integrity of the game. But then some people are going,
Esports.
That's what I was talking about. WoW takes itself way too seriously and forgets that it's a game. Let people have fun. Or what you can do, create an environment where you can go crazy. Create a Eureka, create a Boja, create a Torghast where you can just go crazy with abilities. Where you can make that as an interesting area for people to do. And the serious part of the game you can keep. Like, yeah, the raids are serious, that's fine. And we'll see what people enjoy the most.
Esports! And some people are going to think, hang on a second. That'll be fun.
Is this game not fun because of esports? Fuck's sake.
That's the other thing. It's like, if the game was fun anyways, like, the game being fun doesn't ruin esports. That's the thing. Esports can ruin the fun, but the fun cannot ruin esports. If the game is fun, right, the esports can still be esports. Instead of doing plus 23s, they'll do plus 36s. Who cares? Like, the esports is still, it's like, who can get to a highest M plus in the shortest amount of time? If everything is OP, it doesn't matter. Someone will still get the highest Mythic Plus in the shortest amount of time. It doesn't ruin the esport though.
You know, is that not the thing, right? It's like we spend so much time trying to fucking shove our dicks into a pencil sharpener.
Wow.
You know, to be like,
I'd
this
never
game
done
is going
that.
to be, you know, this is the highest level of competition. This is all very official. You know, we're going to wear blazers and cast the mythic thing.
It's like, have you ever seen those games that try to reimagine soccer? Oh, here. So, what's that car game with the soccer thing, like the car soccer thing? Whatever it's called, but it's like you have the flipping cars in the air that can that needs to get the soccer ball into the goal. Is that not soccer? Like futuristic soccer with crazy ass cars? Is that serious? No, it's still an esport. That's why I'm saying it's like the fun doesn't ruin the esport. The esport ruins the fun. Because you can easily say it's like, well, soccer is soccer. We can't change soccer because soccer is soccer. So we're serious about soccer. Soccer is serious business. Bro, if the players can teleport, but all the players can teleport a certain distance, it can still be a very successful esport. You just added a mechanic where players can teleport as well. Like there are gates on the field where people like you can run in and teleport on the other side. It's still an esport because then you have to calculate defenses based on that aspect of the game. The esport doesn't change. Like it's still gonna be interesting. Well, I mean, if it is interesting, but if you keep it serious, you can't have the fun with it. You know.
You know what I mean, right?
The Mythic Legends Invitational is a fine revenue driver for Activision Blizzard King. It's not.
But it's like, what? I guess it's like, what is the version of WoW that's just World of Warcraft Crack Pipe Edition? Have fun.
Yeah, that's really it. Like,
Maybe.
And for anyone who thinks that, it's not Ascension. Ascension is played way too slowly in comparison to what a really fun WoW crack pipe would be.
That's just called a private server.
oh, yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
here's the funniest thing. They claim they tried to make the game fun in Mechagon. Dude, Mechagon was dog shit fun. It's like, wow, you added like the thing that made you fly or whatever, the steam pack. Wow. Bunch of rares. Wow. Right? It's like, no, that's not what it is. You want some wonky, crazy, dumb shit, right? You want some weird mechanics. You want some shit that's like you're not expected. You want some weird ass builds that their only purpose is for this one specific thing, and it's the funnest and the best way to do it. But it sucks everywhere else. But it's great for this. That's fun.
Oh shit! Oh, Matt, the assassins are coming for me. It's been nice knowing you all. Here I'm Howell, super sort of pointing out the different loot pools. It feels a bit like when 10 and 25 man had different loot. ICC being an example of that.
Yeah,
That
barely.
was the weird thing. Like ICC 10, it was it was easy enough.
Cool.
I'm sure there's maybe times 25 felt easier or something. It kind of
Yeah,
depends
depends
on
on
the
the
players that
boss.
you have because on 10 man points of failure, etc.
Vampire was easier on
But yeah, that's what
25
it
than
was
10
totally
and stuff
I
like
remember
that.
doing ICC 10 a bunch, and then on our off nights, like doing some 25 pugs back with the old guild. And I suppose it's the sort of thing like it had a benefit in that ICC 10 was like this super accessible entry point into the game, and then it was funny because then they made 10 normal and 10 heroic be the same level of difficulty and loot reward to 25. They did that in the Cataclysm expansion, and from that point until Siege of Orgrimmar, when flex in difficulty, which is now called normal, that was introduced. All of these people had just like played 10, that like easier, more casual, with less large social sort of thing to build. They just like didn't have that exist for them anymore.
I don't get that. Why didn't they have it? They could still flex 10 though. Like, I don't understand the argument where it's like, well, people who were doing 10s, once flex was introduced, they got screwed because flex took over the 10. You can still do a 10-man flex. It's 10 men. Like, I don't see the issue. Like, what, the scaling of the bosses? Is that what the problem was? It's like it's not efficient. I don't know. It's such a weird... Like, I heard them say this multiple times. I just don't understand the problem with flex ruining 10 men. Like, just do your 10 men in the flex. Like, who cares? There's still 10 men.
Which is like a kind of crazy thing that happened, isn't it? I like Richard Dobson's Super do Season of Mastery in Retail, call it crackpipe mode. Yeah, that's it. Instead of, what if it was the faded affix? It's the crackpipe affix. Perfect.
Nice. Wouldn't be too bad, considering how old Classic is. Stop taking Classic so seriously. Just make Classic fun, kind of thing. Masculinity, money, women, Andrew Tate. But Andrew Tate is like everywhere, huh? Yeah, either way, gearing in raids is a mess. Gearing in WoW overall is a mess. The profession stuff in Dragonflight is just gonna be so fucking bad. It's like, I already see it failing. Like, with all the effort they're putting into it, it's just gonna be dog shit. I can't wait for the dumpster fire that is Dragonflight. Anyways, that's the video. I'll see you in the next